Hello. Part 3 of The Rose Window by Monte Cook. The next day, just to be on the safe side, I performed every blessing and banishment that I'd ever been taught, hoping that divine power might cleanse the rose window and the sanctuary itself. Those protective rituals and prayers would surely protect us from any evil that might have been present the night before. The rest of the afternoon I spent caring for Macus Hill, who had taken ill a few miles down the road. My position as lore master made me, also, the most knowledgeable healer in the tiny community. In any event, I did not return until well after dark. Like the previous night, the wind blew from the north and made my trip cold and unpleasant. I hitched the team and put them in their stalls in the barn behind the east end of the church. They seemed uneasy and stamped and snorted until I calmed them with an apple that I had been saving for myself. As I walked up to the front door, I rounded the north side of the building and looked up. As I watched, a shadow moved across the colored panes of the rose window. It was big enough to be a person. My first thought was of Fleason. Had he climbed up there somehow? I ran into the sanctuary, but all was still. I could see nothing unusual at the window. The room was lit by a lamp on the altar. Fleason knew that I would arrive late, and left it for me, as he always did. I knew, too, that I would find some food and wine left waiting for me on the table. I smiled at the thought, and sighed. I was making a fool of myself with all this nonsense. I ate quickly and went to bed. That night I awoke startled. The scraping noise was back. It sounded a little like a dog scratching at the door of his master's house, hoping to get in. A big dog. I lit my bedside lamp with a flame from the coals in the brazier that attempted in vain to keep the chill from my room. When I opened my door, I could see that the door to Fleason's room was already open. I looked in to find it empty. The boy had obviously risen, perhaps awakened by the noise as well. Then I heard the scream. I ran into the sanctuary, the flame of my lamp almost going out as it passed through the cold air. I looked frantically about. "Fleason!" I called out. My voice was swallowed by the dark emptiness of the room. How had I grown so afraid of my own sanctuary? "Fleason! Boy! Where are you?" No answer came. My eyes were drawn to the rose window. Dark shapes seemed to move across its surface. Was that light playing against the facets? How long could I tell myself that? I longed for a closer look at the window, but there was no way for me to climb to that height without a ladder. That would be difficult in the dark. I called out again for Fleason. I went outside and checked the barn. The horses and the wagon were still there. I checked all around the outside of the building, still calling for my young friend. "Fleason!" By the time I had searched the inside of the church again, the light of dawn was evident, and I blew out my lamp. I knew what I had to do. I returned to the barn and got the ladder. I maneuvered it to the church, despite its weight and size, and set it below the rose window. I do not know exactly what I thought I would find up there, but I grabbed a heavy candlestick from the altar and held it tightly in my grip. Taking a deep breath, I began to climb. When I reached the top, I held on to the top rung of the ladder with one hand and gripped the candlestick in the other like a weapon. I peered through the window. I had no idea what I was seeing. I gazed through the rose window and beheld some other place. This was not the churchyard. Instead, I saw some infernal realm of shadows and slime-covered things that slithered over a blasted and dreadful landscape. Something flitted across the sky on bat-like wings that seemed to leave a trail of greasy residue behind the creature. This window did not look outside, or rather it did, but not to the outside. The outside. My eyes saw beyond the veil of our world. My mind was besieged by the knowledge that there were places on the other side of the rose window and they were terrible. The things in those places I also knew wanted to get to the inside, to our world. Gods, I knew all at once that this window was a thing of evil. No longer, or was it ever, a fine piece of some glazier's workmanship, no longer bits of blue-green stained glass cleverly pieced together. The rose window was a sorcerous, corrupted thing. It gave me a new view no man should ever see. But what else did it give? Was it some kind of portal? A doorway? I raised the candlestick, my eyes cheering with fear and hatred. I was going to smash the window, shatter it and its evil, to erase the loathsome view that it provided. This would be no defilement or desecration, for the window did not actually belong in a holy place. Yet still I stopped. One thought came to me. From where? If I smashed the window, would I destroy it, or would I let those things in that slithered and writhed in that infernal realm? Would shattering the window prevent them from coming through, or would it grant them passage? A burglar in the night often smashes a window to get in. Smashing it for him only makes his entrance easier. I had to think, but not at the top of that ladder. There I could see into the nightmare realm and worse. I think the things beyond could see me. I climbed down and slumped on the floor next to the altar. I was at a loss. What could I do? Was Fleason gone? Was that his scream that I had heard, or something else? Had he somehow disappeared into the window? That seemed so impossible. What would Tessin have done in this situation? My thoughts are always drawn back to an old mentor in times of crisis. I thought of Tessin and the old abbey, and Ogma preserve us.